All right, ladies, when it comes to bad sexual behavior, we have to start the shift. Like the buck has to stop with us. I hate to break it to you, maybe you haven't noticed, but the men in our world and our society are pretty broken. They're not doing so hot, if you've noticed. Our culture isn't doing a lot for them. The work structure, family structure, and the intense sexualization of any kind of passion or desire that they have is not serving them well. And our lack of fathering and the lack of love we've received has caused us to confuse physical contact with love, or attention with love, because we're so hungry for it. And as such, we have set up a situation where we are allowing men to sort of exploit us for something that they really aren't offering, because we want something that we don't know how to cultivate fully. There's nothing wrong with anyone on this spectrum or situation, right? It's really about understanding that everybody's just doing what they're doing. However, broken men will sleep with you when it's inappropriate. And women, instead of saying, oh, great, he's going to sleep with me and get me a promotion, or, oh, he's going to hook me up with a great job, or, oh, I'll get a raise, or, oh, I'll get a car, or whatever might be on the table, we need to say no. And I'm bringing this up because the CEO of Astronomer was caught on a kiss cam at a Coldplay concert this week with his lovely chief of HR. A lot of people are going to get mad at the guy because they're going to be like, well, he's a CEO and he's married and stuff. And he 100% chose to have a female that he was sleeping with as the chief of HR to watch his back. That is 100% a executive tactic for protection. Put someone that's loyal to me in key positions where someone could say something about me that I need to know about, where I can control certain hiring decisions, firing decisions. I can know what happens in key meetings if I'm left out of them. All of that information is going to be transferred. Okay, that's someone like this is not going to have those kinds of internal ethics if they're also hiring and sleeping with someone in a key position that needs to stay siloed from your operations for very specific reasons. But I really hold her accountable, because you are the chief of HR, honey, and it is your job to protect those people, not your bank account, your heart, your emotion, or your career. You are the head of an organization's team of people. Your only obsessive job every moment should be how those people are. Are they thriving or not? And until we are willing to say, I don't care how much power you have, I don't care if you're going to make me the chief of HR at your company. If it means I have to sleep with you and compromise my ethics and values for what I do, I can't do that. And I'm attracted to you, and we've had a history of affairs. And so if you hire me, I'm not going to be able to resist that. And I need to look out for the people. I have to be able to keep my values and priorities clean for the calling of the position that I'm being hired for. Now, I don't hold these two specifically accountable because this is everywhere. This is one reason I removed myself from the echelons of executive business. When I was an attractive single female working at high levels of executive business, I could have retained many powerful lovers. I was shocked, actually, by how willing many of these executive men were willing to retain that type of sort of mistress, which actually gets worse after you get married, which also shocked me, because you get hit on more as a married executive female because you're considered safer, because these guys have families, but they're bored and their families don't see them. They don't know the kind of executive they go home and they have to, take out the garbage. And the wife is like, when's your next bonus? And it's like, they go out into the world and they're a hotshot executive, and they can now have a hotshot executive sort of mistress function. So they get the home life, and then they get the road girl whose entire life is generally her job, and then, her boss and her team. So you're sort of developing this alternate type of community, because our work is requiring us to go away from home so much and give so much that the people at home are strangers. That's why my first marriage collapsed. I married a stranger. I didn't even know. That's how clueless I was about my personal life, because I was working so much and doing so much for a company. Like, I was married to the company, right? That was like a side piece. Family is a side piece. Let's be real about it. And until we're willing, and it took me taking a step back and suddenly realizing, oh my God, I don't ever get a break. It's a 500 email inbox, and we're working 24/7. There's international calls all the time. There's problems all the time. And that really does become your life. So it makes sense that relationships develop there. But as long as these live in darkness and we do not acknowledge the amount of executives sleeping with other executives, even in business at lower levels, they do not enforce dating policies anymore. People are just sleeping with each other everywhere. And it really compromises your ability to lead, your ability to make clear decisions. And it also keeps a lot of crappy employees in business because they keep each other around because they have a relationship, not because they're merit based or have a function. And in this case, this is a really big deal on many levels. I think for the truth about our industry and how we do relationship, it's not necessarily that these two are wrong. It's that the way we do our family and the way we structure our priorities is wrong. You know, you're making so much money at that point. They're not really invested in the business. They're distracted with their relationships. And then you have to ask, wow, well, how really focused on this business are you if you're banging HR? And like, how does that affect the operations and the efficiency? And the truth is, my heart breaks for the people at Astronomer, both of them, not because they were found out. I'm very grateful that they were found out. That's fantastic for them, but for what they've been living with. It's rotted them out in many ways, and it's going to be quite a recovery process. But the fact that God showed them the grace to spotlight their secret that way, it shows who they really are, and what they're really asking for is redemption and grace. And we'll see some very cool things from them as a result, I have no doubt. But it's going to be probably about 3 to 5 years, if I have anything to guess about it, maybe 3 to 7.